Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guests, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mike Reaney, Regional Asset Support Lead at SAP UK Petrochemicals Limited, who also chairs the UK and Ireland SAP User Group's Maintenance and Service Management Special Interest Group, and is also a director of the user group. And also Andreas Tsisiovaridis, who's a director of Customer Influence at SAP Customer Connection and SAP Customer Continuous Influence at SAP France. So welcome to you both. And together we'll be taking a closer look at influencing SAP. But before we do that, I've got a question for each of you. And at the weekend, on Sunday, I was having a lovely roast beef dinner with all the trimmings, apart from one thing, which I will just not go near, and that's cauliflower. I believe it is the food of the devil, and it makes me balk just to think about it. So my question to you is there a particular food that you detest with all your being? So I want to start with you, Mike.
Thanks, Greg, and thanks for having me on. Well, I guess the thing that springs to mind for me, and it stems from very bad childhood memories, and that's tripe and onions.
Oof.
My parents used to love tripe and onions, and when I was small, the smell of said tripe and onions boiling on the stove for hours on end used to permeate the whole house, and that certainly gave me let's say, a disinclination to ever want to eat it.
Oh, thank you for that. That is going back some as well, isn't it? And Andreas.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, and hi everyone.
Welcome.
The tribes part, I don't really understand. So I live in France, but I don't come from France, right? So I don't have it in my cultural heritage to eat a lot of tribes and intestines and stuff like that. But and every now and then I have been in a couple of places where you say, let's try something new. And then it takes something like, it's called riz de veau in French, and you're not sure what that means. And actually looks like just one more piece of beef, right? Like just a different piece of beef, and then you get it on your plate, and it actually is the intestines of the beef, and it's really something I could not eat at all. And so that was some lesson learned, right? If you're not sure what part of the animal it is, make sure to ask and get a full understanding. Other than that, sauerkraut. That's a big no-no there.
Oh wow! So in your trips to Germany, you avoid that?
Oh yes, they have enough things for me to eat there. I can definitely easily avoid that one, and I do.
Well, I suppose one of the key things when you pop to Germany, it's as long as you don't mind asparagus, because every time I go there seems to be asparagus season. Not that I've been for a while now.
There are also benefits from lockdowns and travel bans and everything. So, I mean, this is actually February, right? So now, if you would go to Germany now, there would be no way to not have something with asparagus in it in one way or another, a soup or anything. But it's okay. I actually like asparagus. I don't like the white asparagus they do there. I rather prefer the green one. So that's another bad point for Waldorf.
Thank you very much, and thank you to you both for sharing that. And just going into our main topic conversation now, and one of the key advantages of being a member of UKISUG is the ability to join our large community that has the collective power to influence SAP. In fact, along with learn, network and collaborate, it's one of our four main pillars of our user group. The focus of our discussion today will be the different initiatives available to our members to influence the future of SAP product development. Andreas, There are several initiatives open to our members across the influencing cycle, from innovation through to improvement. Can you explain a little bit about the opportunities and how they progress through the cycle, please?
Absolutely. So, and when we talk this within SAP, we have a different order because we're interested in how our product lifecycle looks like. But I'd rather take it from a customer's perspective. Um, and this is for the customers. I think that's one first important thing to mention. This is not about prospect. This is not about great ideas from everybody on the planet. This is really a place dedicated for customers. And if you're a customer, typically you already have one productive instance of some kind of SAP product, let's say ERP, success factors, what have you, right? And then you have, because you're in productive mode, you typically see some shortcomings or nice to haves that you would like to see in your next version, or something that would make it that your end users maybe are a bit more comfortable with the solution, or have create less let's say internal discussions and problem solving, or just things like small things, right? Sometimes it might just be that there's a way to take off 3 clicks on a process and make it a much faster, simpler one. From smaller things to bigger ideas, right? Customers that are actually people using the software know best where it can improve, right? So that's kind of the first step, right? As a customer, you want to improve what you already have out there. And now, of course, again, as a customer, and hopefully being in a long-term engagement with SAP, you also kind of think of, okay, what's coming up next, right? And so the next part that comes in this journey is to say, well, there is a new version of that software coming out, or a completely new feature. And typically what happens is that customers either are a little bit wary about getting the first version of something and immediately trying to use it, right? So we know that at SAP, and we also try to make sure that customers, kind of the first adopters, also have specific care on that topic. And that's why we have something called early adopter care, meaning if you're one of the first ones in the kind of first few months where a feature or a product or a new version has come out, you can get extra support to make sure that you can go live as fast as possible with the least problems possible, with a direct contact into SAP development to solve any issues or problems that might come up. And so early adopter care with these projects are also posted on Customer Influence, right? And that's where you can actually go and find them. Now, again, looking a bit further out, you also know as a customer that there is new products coming out soon, right? You've heard about them, you've seen the roadmap, you know that a feature is coming out, and you were interested to get a head start and a little bit of a sneak peek into these, right? And that's where we offer beta services. So beta projects are basically the opportunity to test and experience products, because even before they actually hit the market or are made available to the general public. So that's before general availability, so to speak, before it's made available for all customers, the opportunity again to test, experience the products, and also in the same process, of course, provide feedback. And then looking even further out in the journey, then we're talking about things which have not been created yet, right? New products that we're thinking maybe of creating, or new products that we have decided, that SAP has decided based on customer feedback that we want to create and work with, or even new versions of existing products where we know that we want to do some substantial difference, and that's the possibility to work directly, almost embedded into the development team and provide feedback and make sure that it actually works for a real customer. And because of course we know every now and then that for the best of the efforts that we can put to make sure that that SAP provides the best solution, the best quality, the most innovative, and the most aesthetically pleasing, etc. There's always the human factor and how people use and interact with software, or new business cases that come in, or business models that come in, and everything. So we know that we have to get feedback from customers, and it's also important for customers to get involved in that, because then they will make sure that whatever comes out of the SAP factory, so to speak, will actually fit their needs, right? So if you look at it from the closest to your heart, right, you have products that you use today, you want to improve them. And then you might want to take a new step with a new version or new product. We help you to adopt them as soon as possible. If you want to test them before they even are available, then we can do beta projects. And then even before that, with customer engagement initiative, is the opportunity to really work in an embedded and very close collaboration with development teams before, as the idea takes shape and form into a product.
The UK and Ireland SAP User Group is a not-for-profit membership organisation designed to help you to get the very best out of your SAP investments and make your job easier. Our focus is bringing the whole SAP community together so our members can learn, network and collaborate to improve their organisation, providing an independent channel through which to influence SAP. For more information and a special offer for our podcast listeners, please visit sapusers.org/pod or email support@sapusers.org. Enjoy the rest of the pod.
Thank you very much. I really like that cycle focused on the customer comfort factor, so to speak. So, initially customers utilising a solution is comfortable with that solution, wants some developments made to it, and then starts getting involved in the influencing that way. And of course, it can be done the reverse way around as well, couldn't it? So if I'm, for instance, get involved in the customer engagement initiative, like you say, on really work with developers on, creating a new solution, I can then follow that process through, I suppose, going into the beta testing of it and then adopting it myself, implementing it, the early adopter care, and then improving it further. So it's a really good continuous cycle. And Mike, what has been your experience in engaging with any of these initiatives as a customer?
Yeah, sure. I guess fair to say that the sort of biggest involvement so far has been with the Customer Connection Initiative. I'll go back probably 5 years now when we first started to get involved in that as the Maintenance and Service Management Special Interest Group. At the time, and Andreas, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was on something like the second cycle of enterprise asset management already at that time, because I think the strength of the German user group in their enterprise asset management area meant that there was an awful lot of ideas already came forward there that were being progressed. So it's been a kind of an ongoing journey for the last sort of 5-6 years to improve various aspects of the enterprise asset management capability. And I recall there was, as well as having ideas that other people have already submitted that you can vote on, you're able to submit some yourselves. And certainly through the MSM SIG, we had a couple of ideas put forward. And I recall there was certainly one of those that got a number of votes that were necessary to move it forward. And it ended up being implemented and offered as an improvement note the sort of following year. So certainly seeing that going well. And I think from my experience, let's say as an SAP customer rather than through the user group itself, it's also given us the opportunity to understand what little improvements might be coming along and what's available, so we can then engage with our IT community within the company to perhaps take some of those improvements on board to address some of the frustrations we might have been experiencing. And that's worked pretty well from our point of view already.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. It's good experience. And you mentioned there, obviously, the German user group, and we've had a number of workshops over the years with Andreas and his team with user groups from around Europe, really, to talk about improving the processes involved. And I do have to say that, the actual influencing process come on in leaps and bounds in the past few years to make it much easier for customers to engage. So just from your perspective, Andreas, why should customers get involved?
Well, that's a question I get asked a lot. So every now and then, customers do ask me, what's in it for me? right? Which I think is a very fair question, right? Because of course we from SAP, we know why it's important for us to work with customers, right? Because we know that it becomes relevant, that our solutions become pertinent, they get strong acceptance, easier adoption, all good things for us, right? But then comes the question, well, why should a customer go and put an improvement request and search for other improvement requests and vote? Why should he spend 5 days or 3 days in a workshop with development team on through a customer engagement initiative? Why spend the time? What's in it for them? And I think which is for a very fair question. I think there are some key points to answer that one. And I think it also comes from customers' own experiences, right? The one experience that I remember very specifically out of a customer that was working in a customer engagement initiative project, right? So working together with development, really hand in hand with development for a new version of a specific product, of a specific solution was, and he was ready to say that to his fellow customers, and said, well, basically, when that solution came out, it just fit what we just made worked exactly the way we wanted it to. And we know that if we hadn't been involved with that one, we would say, okay, yes, it doesn't work exactly as I like to because I have some kind of specific scenarios that were not taken into account. And then I have to do some kind of improvement request or maybe talk to my account manager or maybe do some custom work. And then ultimately the second, third service pack, then it works for me. Right? So this notion that it just works off the bat for me because I got involved as a customer in the conception of the product or the solution, that's really, I think, pretty powerful. Another one, which is rather about this on the improvement side of things, and that's maybe more about the ERP side. A lot of customers have custom solutions in order to do things in a very specific way. And as we all know, custom solutions are great, right? Because they give you the possibility to do very specific things in a very specific manner. But every now and then also a little bit difficult to maintain, upgrade whenever there's a new upgrade, etc. So a lot of customers have found good value in the fact that by getting something implemented, some improvement requests that they get then implemented, then they can actually take off or reduce some of the custom work that they have done, so to speak, in their solutions, because now it's incorporated to the standard. So I think that was also a very concrete scenario. Maybe the third point also is specifically the more you work with, let's say, customer engagement initiative projects, right? Early on, as a customer, you also get, in a very confidential manner, you get a very clear picture on what's coming in over the next few years for a specific area, for a specific solution. You get a very early view of how that roadmap looks, and actually get, of course, the possibility to change that roadmap and influence that roadmap. But even just the possibility of knowing what's coming in, I think that was specifically mentioned by customers, something that they really appreciated. And the last point maybe to mention, I know that a lot of people, a lot of our customers, I mean, all customers are not exactly the same, and the populations within the customers are not the same. You have admin users, you have technical administrators, you have business process experts, and you have end users, right? And a lot of times the people that get engaged with us are typically on the business process expert or kind of administrators of a solution, right? Like from a business perspective, or even technical administrators. And they also hear a lot and get to have this discussion with end users who then tell them, well, this is not working fast enough. This is, too many clicks, and how can we do faster? And by having the possibility to come to SAP and work on these issues and kind of try to fix them or make them better, I know that a lot of these admin type of profiles and business process expert profiles find it very valuable that they can actually go back to their end users and show their value of being able to solve some of these problems. So I think that's also something that was specifically mentioned as a real nice advantage for these people.
Thank you, and yeah, there are lots of advantages and positives there for customers. And Mike, is there anything you could add there?
Well, certainly, I think pick up on one of the points Andreas made. Through some of the improvements we saw coming through. In fact, I think one of the ones that was actually suggested through the MSM SIG when it was actually adopted within SAP, we were able to eliminate a kind of workaround we had in place. It gave us the capability to do a mass change for user status on work orders, which was something we wanted to do, and had a workaround to do that, which once it was in the system through the customer connection initiative, we were able to drop that workaround. So certainly experienced that happening firsthand, and it working very well from that point of view.
Oh, thank you. And whilst we're on that subject, just like to have a focus on how customers can influence the future of the solutions that they currently use through the customer connection and also continuous influencing. Now, if I remember rightly, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Andres, the customer connection generally covers all of the on-premise products that customers use, whereas the continuous influencing, which was introduced a few years ago, covers the cloud products from SAP. Am I right or wrong in that, Andres?
No, Greg, so you're absolutely right. The customer connection process, so also for those listening, so we talked about how to improve products at SAP, right? And we use these two programs, right? Customer connection and continuous influence. So customer connection was the process that was designed, I think, even close to 10 years ago. And it was designed very specifically in mind with the ERP on-premise product. And what that means is the specificity there is that when you have an ERP or in general an on-premise product, you also have versions, older versions, which are out there and which are, of course, under maintenance, and where we also expect customers to come in with enhancement requests and also deliver enhancement requests on older versions. So the customer connection with its project approach was really designed to cater for the fact that you have older versions and you can make sure that you can ask for which version do you need this, where does it make sense, how far can we downport, etc., etc. So so the customer connection process was created with ERP in mind. So when we actually then back in 2015-16 started working more with cloud products in mind, like SuccessFactors and then Ariba and other products like that, these teams, because they knew that customer connection was very successful and we have great, relationship to customers and the tool and everything, we started talking about how that could work for them. And then we figured out that the fact that there was a difference on how these products work made it also make sense for us to say, well, we probably need a different way of working with customers around them. And so basically, because there's only one version in the cloud product, right? The console version, always forward-looking, and also because of the nature of how cloud product works with frequent delivery, right? Or continuous delivery. Of course, you never deliver every day something, but frequent deliveries. It meant that it made much more sense to have more of a continuous collection. So being able to collect all the time and be able to deliver frequently. So continuous collection, frequent reviews with frequent deliveries, and that made it also. I think what's also interesting that because of that change, right, and how that was working, we saw that this 24 aspect of being able to continuously collect feedback also made it a little bit easier for many users that were users that might be a bit less engaged with the influencing programs. They came more and more and had the opportunity more and more to find an open channel all the time. So we got a bit more. The continuous influence process actually now is engaged with many customers than we used to engage also with the customer connection part, because there you still have to be aware of what's the right timeline, when is the right moment to post improvement request, and that typically is something that works better when you're nicely connected through your user group or through the customer influence site. That being said, of course, there's many reasons also for user groups to also have a specific role in both of these programs, right? And we'll take them in a second. But yes, if you want to keep kind of the gist of this, right? Continuous influence is rather for cloud products and high frequency and very new products, and the customer connection part is still used for ERP. And as of 2021, it's pretty new. We started doing this last a few weeks ago. Even S4HANA on-premise customers would be able to participate in customer connection projects, right? So just to take the example of EAM, when we start a new EAM project, it would be possible not only to submit and vote for, let's say, ERP EAM, but also for customers that have an S4HANA experience, S4HANA on-premise experience, because there too, again, the same problems or the same features of we have now older versions like from the 2018 and 2019, working with customers using them, we need to make sure we cater for them. So again, the same logic of being able to say, well, this improvement request is rather for S4HANA on-premise, and we'd like to see it in the 2018 version, right? So that's also, so as of very recently, all the projects, we decided that all the projects that we do in customer connection would enable also S4HANA on-premise customers to submit and vote on them.
That's great news, and the length and breadth of products that are involved is exceptional. With CX, you mentioned Ariba, SuccessFactors, ERP, ECC, S4HANA, they're all there. And Mike, you mentioned earlier about the MSM SIG working together, and I know that the finance SIG also collaborate together a few years back, and I think they put forward approximately 30 improvement requests on customer connection, and over 20 of their improvements were actually developed and delivered. So how can our members leverage our special interest groups and communities to really drive that change, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of through the relevant SIG chair, making sure that when there is any activity in the customer connection initiative, or indeed in the customer engagement initiative that's relevant to that SIG, that they maybe even in the SIG itself, log into the influencing website and have a look at what's kind of coming, what's going on, maybe even look for ideas amongst the group and put them forward kind of collectively. And that obviously means you might get a number of votes straight away because they're all in the room. To me, it's a matter of actually being positive, recognizing that SAP does listen to what's being said, and these improvements are actually being made. And as you pointed out, the finance SIG have been particularly successful in doing that in the past. And I would certainly encourage all the SIGs and anyone who attends a SIG to ensure that they are actually looking at what's going on.
And that is a great point you made there about the votes. And you mentioned it, Andreas, as well, around the voting, because to get it in front of the developers, it needs to be prioritized. And in general terms, that is the amount of votes it gets from other customers. So working together within the community, be it at the special interest group meetings, be it even, posting a link to it on our online collaboration platform so members can actually see it, go on and vote for it. And the more companies that actually are listed on there are supporting that should get it up that list of priorities. So I think, it's a key point you both made there around the voting and that collective work we can do to drive that. So, thank you very much. And Andreas, just a quick question, as I'm conscious we're coming towards the end of our time now. How many improvements are delivered each year through the programs?
So that depends a little bit from year to year, because depending on the adoption of the various solutions, our solutions adoption of the customer influence site. But to give you a glimpse, right, in 2020, we delivered more than 1,660 improvements, right, across all of SAP areas. And when I'm saying delivered, it means there was a specific code that was made to cater for that specific improvement request, right? On top of that, we also provided for more than 1,300 requests. We answered with a workaround, right? So this is actually seen with a specific status like already offered, but basically means that a customer that came in with a need and thought that, oh, in order to meet this need, you need to change the code this way. And we could say, you know what, you can do it this other way. Actually, you can even already do it, but you have to switch this on in a specific way, etc. So ways of satisfying that need. So in total, 3,000 improvement requests in 2020 got a solution based on that interaction, so that people can actually find the solution to that problem. Maybe also something to mention here, even for users that don't want to get involved, even for those who don't even want to go and vote or don't feel that they have the time for it, everything that is being done over the site is free, right? So everything goes into the standard. If you're a customer of, let's say, SuccessFactors, whatever delivered in SuccessFactors, you get access to ERP and S/4HANA, etc., etc. So what I want to kind of quickly mention there, we have created very, very, very easy, lightweight website with no hassle and no ID, no nothing, right? It's called SAP Improvement Finder. And basically you can go there, search for your area, and then you'll see exactly what has been delivered over the years. So you can actually take advantage of it. And then you just get a notion of what was the improvement request and how can I benefit from it, right? Whether it's an SAP note or a release note or something like that gives you more information on how to take advantage of it. That's a very lightweight, very easy way of getting to know what you can immediately take advantage of.
Thank you. That's quite an interesting tip and a very valuable one on utilising Improvement Finder as well. So customers can take advantage, as you say, of those improvements that have been delivered already. Very easy, very quick, and good access to that. So just as we come to an end now, just turn to you, Mike, if I may. You've already mentioned about utilising and leveraging the special interest groups and how you've worked in the past. Do you have any further advice for our members around influencing?
For me, the key thing is to actually get involved. Don't sort of shy away and think, oh, well, somebody else will do it. Like, log into the website, have a look what's around, encourage the SIGs to look at those. And you can even take it as far as volunteering to participate in the user testing as well, when that sort of phase comes forward for some of those improvements. And that just gives you more of an insight into what's happening, whether something might be good for you, whether it might meet your needs, and how to sort of take advantage of it. And that's just, it's a matter of just do it, I think, for me.
Thanks, Mike. And in closing, Andreas, anything further you'd like to add?
Yeah, and just to add to what Michael was saying, I think, so of course you can just, as a customer, you can just take advantage of what others people have already suggested, etc., right? And of course you can participate in what projects other people might have requested to start. As a SIG, as a special interest group, you have a very special power. You can actually request and you can be the driving force, the leading force to actually request new customer connection projects on specific areas that you feel are not covered today. So if as a customer or a SIG, you see, well, it would be great to have a project here, but unfortunately we don't have anything, you should know. And Craig has a specific document. It's a Word document. It's called an Inference request document, where you can actually start filling in, and then it's sent off to me, my team, and then we go to the product team and say, look, the UKISUG, with all its members and all its power, would like to really have a project around this or that area. What you're going to do about it, right? So it's something which is, and that's a very it's a role which is specifically designed and reserved for user groups, right? Nobody else can play that role. So I definitely would recommend that you use the power to lead, so to speak. And also, this is not something, these are tried and tested processes. There are almost more than 3,000 users today on customer influence who has said to SAP pre-willingly that they're part of UKISUG. So there's your peers, they're already there, right? Most of them are already there, or many of them are already there. So this is not something where as a new UKISUG member, you would say, oh, nobody else, and I'm doing this, I'm going to be the first one. No, it's really tried and tested, together with approximately 80,000 other users, of course, that come from all places, right? So as a last point, I think UKISUG due to the English language, actually has a little bit of an advantage. You might want to consider that, let's say, I don't know, our Chinese customers might have a little bit less opportunity to participate and collaborate easily on an English language-based tool. I think you have an extra advantage there. I know we also have a historically great relationship with the UKISUG, so I think all doors are open. There's no dogs barking. It's free to go. There's definitely the opportunity to do a lot of things in terms of influencing. And just maybe also to remind to everybody that all this happens at influence.sap.com.
Thank you very much. And it's great to know that we're leading China in at least one thing in the world. But Andreas, Mike, thank you very much for your time and your insights. And thank you for everybody for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. If you would like further information on how you can get involved in our influencing activities, please do visit www.sapusers.org/influence. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and keep washing your hands.